Hi, Grandma here, and we're reading Snow Treasure. And in the previous chapter, they did find Uncle Victor and told him about the feeling they had that they were being watched and about the soldier that was skiing from the direction of where they are located. Victor said that actually he and Rolls were keeping an eye on the children, but the soldier does cause some concern. Victor is ready to sail as soon as all the gold has been brought down. Chapter 22. Uncle Victor wasn't going to get shot if Peter could help it. He resolved then and there to do all he could to hurry the rest of the gold to the snake, so the Kling can lift anchor and get away. There's nothing to do but what we've been doing, Victor Lundstrom decided. We'll have to chance this spy, or whatever he is still mystified and wants to learn more about us before he tells on us. He probably doesn't know that the bricks are gold bars, because not one of them has been touched. Every sled load has been accounted for. So the best we can do is get the rest of it here and let me get away while there's still a chance. They agreed they had no choice in the matter. Yes, we've started it, Mrs. Lundstrom said. The only thing to do now is to finish it. The visitors dared stay no longer aboard the Kling because of the little children that they left behind with the snow men. This is goodbye, Victor. Mrs. Lundstrom kissed her brother-in-law. God bless and keep you always. You've undertaken a mighty task. Only a man as brave as you would attempt it. Uncle Victor disclaimed the heroism. Not at all, he said. I'm the lucky one. I'm going to get out of this while the rest of you have to stay and face it. Rolls and I will have it easy. It's Lars and the ones who have gone to fight who are the brave ones. Again, Peter had to precede his mother along the beach past the German camp. He waited for her up on the road beyond the bend where he could not be seen from below. When at length she reached him, he tied his sled to the end of the bobsled, and together they pulled up the steep hillside. At the home farm, there was a flurry of excitement. That much was evident the minute they turned in from the road. Fru Holm wanted to tell them something, but she was silent until the small children had eaten their bread and milk and were tucked into bed. There's something strange going on. She waved a wooden cooking spoon. But first, she went to the door, looked out, then she bolted it and came over to where they sat by the fire. Today, just before you came, I saw a German soldier in my woods. He was wearing skis. But why would he be skiing about my place? I asked myself. He comes cautiously as if he's looking for something. I watch, and he comes close to my barn. Then he slides himself along with his poles and pulls himself up the runway into my barn. Into my barn! I tell you, Peter and his mother had no word to say about this new menace. Was the German spying around the Holmes farm because he knew the boys were put to sleep there? Peter wondered. Frau Holm went on. I think I will call out to him, "Get out of my barn, you loafer!" And then I think, no, that's bad. It might make him angry and he'd turn me over to the officers. So I say to myself, I'll say nothing till I've talked with Fru Lundstrom. Well, then what happened? Mrs. Lundstrom asked. I just waited and waited. By and by, he came out and started back the way he'd come. Perhaps he's on a mission to get food for the soldiers, Mrs. Lundstrom suggested. Then why doesn't he come right up here and ask me or Papa? She answered with spirit. He needn't go around looking in people's barns. None of them knew what to make of Fru Holmes's visitor. Peter tried to find out what the soldier on skis looked like. He was anxious to know if he was the same soldier he'd seen himself the day before. But he remembered he had seen nothing of that one but his back, so he could hardly compare the two. Whatever the ski soldier was doing in Holmes' barn, it could only mean danger for Uncle Victor. Peter determined they would make even greater haste getting the rest of the gold to the snake. He and Michael and the bigger ones would have to take heavier loads. 5 bricks instead of 4. Then if the women were going to pull the long sleds, they could take some too. Things were happening too fast. Well, he could always warn Uncle Victor. There was some comfort in knowing where to find the cling. The next day, and for some days after that, Mrs. Berg and a number of the other women joined the children in their trips. They would take the bobsled on it. Each was a small pile of gold, and over the gold sat the smallest children. The next week, the pile of bricks in the cave was nearly down to the ground. There were less than 100 to be sledded to the snake. The children danced around in great glee. The snow's holding, and we've done it, we've done it, we've done it. Helga was the noisiest. Shh, Per Garson warned. You've not done it yet. There's still nearly 50 sled loads. You can't say you've done it till the cave is bare as a miser's cupboard. Nothing further was seen of the German soldier on skis. Peter was always on the watch, but not once did he see the gray-green uniform. Late one afternoon, he was unloading his sled in the snake. He untied his rope and removed the sack covering and placed the bricks in the hole he'd made in the snow. He took 2 hands full of snow and began to make his soldier. He patted it hard. As he reached for more, something made him look up. It was just the merest noise, soft, like breathing. He looked into a pair of blue, blue eyes. Their owner was wearing the dull-colored uniform of a German infantry soldier. Chapter 23. So it was all over. They'd been discovered. The Nazis knew what they were doing and had come to stop them. Peter knelt in the snow trembling. The blue eyes under the fringe of fair hair was familiar. Even in his fright, Peter knew he'd seen this private before. He'd seen him the very first day they'd passed the Nazi sentries. He'd been helping unload the supplies. He was the one who had seemed to want to go sled riding too. He was the soldier who came to the conditorry for the s'mores board. Then Peter had another surprise. The brush behind the soldiers parted, and Uncle Victor sprang out. He grabbed the soldier's arm and pinned them behind him, and before he could make an outcry, he had a gag over his mouth. And we do have a photo here with Uncle Victor and Rawls, and you can see Peter down by his sled, still making the snowman. Behind Uncle Victor came Rawls, the mate. His revolver was pointed to the captive. When the latter made no effort to free himself, it was lowered. Then the men turned back into the brush toward the Kling Pearson. It all happened so fast that none but Peter saw. Not even Helga, a few feet away, knew what took place. She was hard at work on her snowman. Helga, take my team back with yours, Peter asked. I want to see Uncle Victor. Helga wanted to see Uncle Victor too, and to go aboard the Kling, now that Peter knew where to find it. But Peter was president of the Defense Club. All of them had to obey him. When he refused to let her come with him, she had to do as he asked. Peter had no idea whether or not his uncle would allow him aboard the boat, but he was going to find out. What was happening on the smack was something no boy of 12 was going to miss, if he could help it. So he hurried through the brush to the side of the water. From below the deck came strange sounds. Not to lose any of the excitement, Peter almost fell down the companionway in his haste. Uncle Victor and Rawls had untied the prisoner's arms and had taken the gag from his mouth. Then the captive soldier drew off his round army cap and threw it on the floor and tramped on it. He beat it with his feet, up and down. Then he tore at the insignia on his collar and tried to rip it off. All the while he was making hideous faces. So what do you think he's doing? Taking his cap, throwing it down, stomping on it, and tearing his insignia. That's the pins that tell his rank and tell that he's an infantryman. He's tearing all of them off. It's as if he doesn't want them to know who he is or what he is. Okay. What is it, man? Speak. Your mouth is no longer tied, Uncle Victor commanded sharply. Then came a torrent of words, Norwegian, and some other tongue that Peter did not recognize. I'm no German, even if I do wear the uniform. I'm a Pole. They took me and made me serve them, and the deceit is theirs, not mine. But what are you doing with the German Army of Occupation? Uncle Victor asked. I tell you, it is not my fault. It's theirs. I'm no more to blame than that boy there. He pointed at Peter, and now Uncle Victor and Rawls saw him too. But Uncle Victor made no move toward Peter. He gave him a glance that seemed to say, it's all right. At your age, I wouldn't have missed it either. I want to go to the United States, the Pole went on. If you'll take me on the boat, I'll cook and I'll scrub the decks. I'll sew the sails and carpenter. I'll stand watch. I'll do anything you ask, only don't leave me here with these merciless machines, these Germans. What's he talking like that for? Uncle Victor turned to Rawls. What makes him think I'd take a man in a German uniform anywhere? How do I know he's a Pole, that's Polish, and hates the Germans? Does he think I'm a baby to take him on his word? Then he turned on the Pole and spoke severely. Come, now tell me what you know. How long have you been following these children? If I follow the children, it's only because I'm lonely. It's because I want to be with someone I can like and trust. I will not make friends with the Germans. They don't even speak to me unless I can do them a service. Tears came into his blue eyes. Come now, that's absurd. You have been following these children because you are spying on them. You want to find out what brings them here on their sleds. Then you go tell the commandant and win a promotion. I know your sly German tricks. No, I have no sly German tricks. I'm a Pole. I have no love for the Germans. To me, they have done every wrong short of putting me to death. If I follow the children, it's not to do them harm. He spoke convincingly. Peter believed he told the truth. Even Uncle Victor seemed inclined to believe him, for his next question was put in milder tones. But if you wanted to be with the children, why did you not make yourself known when you were here last week? I was on the other side of the fjord. I could not cross over. But what were you doing in Holmes' barn? Peter asked, for it was you, of course. If one is lonesome, even cows can be companions. Uncle Victor turned away. Peter spoke again. He was sorry for the captive, believed his story, but with so much at stake they couldn't afford to take chances. But it was you who were in the Konditorei the other day. You posted the notices about going back to school. Why is it you can have so much liberty and the others have to go back to their barracks? They don't have to go. It's by choice. When they found the Norwegians were ignoring them, they decided they would stay together entirely. And then when the epidemic came, they were frightened. Weren't you frightened too? Not I, because death, it's nothing. I live only that someday I can help my country. Poland is my country. Uncle Victor cleared his throat. If he was going to say something, the Polish boy didn't give him a chance. But won't you take me with you to America? For surely that is where you are going. He looked about the cabin. From the other side of the fjord, I saw the boat in its clever disguise, and I knew you'd be sailing soon for that country. I'll be no trouble if you take me, and when I get there, I've a place to go. I have a married sister in Pittsburgh. Well, that's utter nonsense, Uncle Victor protested, and his voice was again loud and angry. Even if I didn't think this was some sly Nazi trick, how could I land you there? They wouldn't let you in without a passport. Well, that's certainly a good question. Well, maybe the soldier has his passport on him. I doubt it, since he has been conscripted, forced to fight on the Germans. I imagine they would certainly have taken his passport away from him so that he would not attempt to run away. But it's a mystery as to what are they going to do. Are they going to keep him? Are they going to imprison him someplace like in the barn? Are they going to let him go? Good questions, don't you think? Do you have other questions, other possibilities? Well, we'll find out the next time. Bye-bye.